Hello, hello, hello. This is the Duke coming back at you again with another commentary on the latest talking points. I'm going to share a link later to a recent clip by Jessica Rex, a fellow British YouTuber, and I found it interesting listening to Jessica's panel of listeners yesterday when she was streaming. They responded to Kevin Samuel's approach on dating and relationships within the Black American community. Now, even speaking from someone from outside that community living in a Western country, I do feel like the same trends that I see or witness happening in America is starting to happen in other Western countries when it comes to being black in the West. And so I guess it's in a way relates to my experience, and rather than just being nosy on how a certain community thinks. And from listening to the stream, I'm just going to share the screen right now. From listening to the stream, it seems that a lot of people are still very confused by the term high value man. And I feel like it's more distinct within the Black American community than the other callers, white and Asian, who call up to Kevin's channel. And it seems that there is a huge disorientation of that term itself. They think it's his, and they place emphasis on value rather than on what it actually means universally, because it's an accepted reality universally. So here's the screen here. And just again, they seem to be very confused by the term high value man. They dissect it and adjust it to their understanding of what value means to them, when in fact the terminology is not a tenet of Kevin's. It's a remix for relationships. It's not even a remix for relationship experts. This is a general and universal term. It's a term used for very specific group of people in society. And what's surprising to many of them is the fact that not everyone is in that position if they have a certain amount of money. And I'm going to break it down later, but just to listen to just this small part of the conversation, it made me realize that, wow, this community seems to be confused by certain occupation, certain type of class you are trying to abduct into your lifestyle.
Not power, that's unrealistic, and get your head out the clouds, boo. Because if you really wanted a high value man, you'd look at his morals. You would look at what type of family he comes from. You would gladly date a guy.
We're conflating now. Now we're conflating.
How is that conflating?
No, but she's speaking facts.
How is that
No,
conflating?
she's not, Mel. She's not.
Okay, Mel, let DJ Naf explain, and then let D Max give her reply.
Got you. It just knows like I know, right? We've been listening to Kevin for a long time before he was this phenomenon that he is now, right? He's very clear in his definition of what high value is. And unfortunately, in our community and the people that are just now starting to listen to him, that's what they focus on, is the money. They ignore all the other things. It's like 6 different characteristics that make a high value guy. You know what I'm saying? And like anybody that watches, what is it? The Fresh and Fit podcast, shout out to them.
Yeah, I watched them. Yeah.
They go through the same thing, and they're in Miami where there are a lot of guys that make money. There's a lot of athletes and celebrities that go to Miami that are rich, and Kevin doesn't classify these guys as high value for a reason. But I know personally, like a lot of people know, that a lot of the girls down there, those are the guys that they go after, with the celebrity status, with the money, etc. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're high value. Then when you start throwing morals and all that other stuff into it, that has nothing to do with it. Yes, money is a part of it. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. But there's other things that go into it, And I'm not going to go through the tenets, but it's that's why I said
I don't know why he couldn't go through it. I carried on listening to the stream, and it just seemed as if it wasn't simple enough to explain to them. It seems as if they're still very lost in what this term means. It's a class thing. If you are a white collar worker, a professional, part of the bourgeoisie of society, could be considered high value. In fact, 90% likely, if you're in this part of society. That's what you are. This excludes the athletes, the entertainers, the actors and actresses, and now what we call influencers today. They do not count unless they elevate themselves in that position with certain factors, but it takes work and time. And so I'm going to go through it really quickly. I even set up a quick slide on what I value man really entails. And also, Kevin has a whole video. I'm going to leave it in the description below so you can click, and he breaks it down even further. But yeah, let me share the screen for. So, what is a high value man? Money, length of time they've had the money, group acceptance within the group of other high value men, network, visibility, utility. Those are the 6 distinct talking points that Kevin has used, but in general it's accepted in this way. Oh, I'm going to break it down again. Money, earns minimum of 10k a month adjusted per state in the US, but it's pretty much similar in the UK as well after taxes, about 7 to 8,000 pounds a month, and it could total between 100 to 120k a year. And then the length of time they've earned it within the last 3 to 5 years, so it's almost reoccurring, because people can have a very successful year, whatever fast money they've made, and then just decline or moved on to a different field that was a struggle. But the issue is when you are established, you can see there's a recurring amount of years you need to kind of prove that you've been in the market and you are an efficient, successful man in your career, in your entrepreneurial work. But it's necessary to also highlight length of time you've been rich. And then group acceptance is known by other high value men. You are essentially intertwined with the term network. You associate with yourself with different people who are on your level and who you sort of make sure you work with in order to thrive in all your different avenues. And so these are very important in terms of recognizing what a high value man is. These are white collar workers, okay? These are your doctors, your engineers, your attorneys. When they've finally been established as consultants or high senior people in their firm, these are very important and distinct points to make. But it seems like certain communities just don't get it. And in fact, America in general, I feel, not even what I feel, is very recognizable that the American dream has played into the idea that anyone can reach that point just by making sure you earn amount or you win the lottery. You notice that people who win the lottery don't have these value standards in terms of what they spend their money on and how fast that money runs out, because they weren't structurally prepared to handle those funds. But if you are a high value man, you already establish yourself. Rather than fast money, you have streams of salary intake. You have all these things are active in your life, a mortgage being paid off, or the cars you're using, just the assets you have accumulated over the years places you in that position. Not just anyone, not just a trendsetter, not just someone who blew up as a meme. You are not high value because you're well known because of that, or because you've earned so much money. Do not place yourself in that position, and do not assume that those are the type of people that Kevin Samuels or other experts talk about. Visibility, again, it's not clout, it's LinkedIn level. What does that mean? Professional. Are you a professional? Are you not? You don't have to have a career in an office, but if you're an entrepreneur, you have to have a business etiquette. Do you have a business card? Do you have connections? In a sense, for someone like Kevin that's left the corporate world into this entrepreneurial aspect of his career, where he's using YouTube to find a stream of money, but then he's a consultant, he's certified. If you go on his account, some people try to expose him for not being legitimate, but he is certified. All these PUAs, all these dating experts, they don't really need to be certified. They just need to have a good sense of speech, motivational speaker like Derek Jackson. They don't need qualifications for these things. But if you're a preacher, you go to, a certain school in order to, gain accreditation. where you want to work or where you want to place yourself. Certification is very important because you are acknowledged and you're visible and recognized by society in a legitimate way. You can make money any other way you want, but this is what is referred to as a high value man. Utility is relied upon and useful to the group, to the community. Usefulness in your career, how useful is your job? I'll always place, medical doctor in a prestigious position because they are very useful to our society. We need healthcare professionals, we need clinicians, we need dentists, we need nurses. These are valuable people. But a high value man is placed on a higher, prism of a senior role of a very important person in our community. These are who these people are, and that's why there's so few of them within 10% or less. So there's a confusion every time you hear these callers call up. They get very confused. They're not prepared for this type of scenario. Even men as well. But then men who do listen realize that they are not high value men. They're working their way up. And in fact, it motivates people to continue to work their way up when they realize that this is what women want. They want men who are in this position. And this is what men want if they want to become that person. That's what they sort of hold up against. They wait till they reach that position so that they can attract the 9s and 10s or the very stable woman who is prepared for marriage. Once people realize that is very important. But what is funny is that I think it's a struggle within America and especially within Black America to recognize what this term means. In the UK, for example, we're very much aware of what class means. It's very distinct in the UK. I feel like class, not even what I feel, it's evident that class is more important than race in the UK. Majority of the country are working class, white, British. But those who are of a certain class have a certain decorum, have a certain culture within themselves that has been upheld for generations. And so the accumulation of wealth comes with an accumulation of an understanding of etiquette, of how to present themselves, of how to network. Green is the language of the high value man and woman, but it's also about stability. If you're not stable, if you're an athlete making a certain amount in a contract in 2-3 years, how is your mentality set up? Are you gaining help and support? Do you have an accountant? Do you have all these sort of aspects of your life? All these qualities come after the fact. So people try and highlight what's a good person or what a good man who makes a lot of money. What does he represent? But the truth is there are principles that are followed because it brings the highest success rate. And in the UK, there's no confusion in that. Even amongst Black people, there are those who are elite especially in London, who associate within themselves. They don't associate with the poorer communities. And that's what I believe as well Americans are confused by. Black Americans in particular don't realize that they have a class of people who are like that. They've been like that for the last 2 centuries. The Black bourgeoisie, you're well aware of them, but you look down on them. I've already made attempt to read into the community, the history. African American history is profound around the world. People is very notable. So I've made sure that even though I am as curious, I am well informed. So I did read a book based on the African American community, spreading from as far as antebellum slavery to today. And there is a class of people who have upheld these standards. Some of you would consider it a white man's way of thinking. They live the white society, but no, they live the high value society. Our Kind of People is a book I've read. I read it PDF 3-4 years ago, and I also bought the book just recently just to reread again. And essentially it maps out the communities around the states of high earning and prestigious Black communities around the country, the bourgeoisie. They had connections. They were part of fraternities and sororities. They went into programs to essentially protect themselves from, the Jim Crow era, just the racism that came out of America. And in a sense that, the majority black community look down on them because they assume that they do not represent the black experience. But the black experience, is it meant to be fully represented on based on poverty, or shouldn't it be something that should work its way up and out of poverty? These are the people who have reached that position over generations, and they've upheld that by making sure their children remain in that sphere um of prestige. And there are all these different channels that embrace femininity schooling, or even Kevin Samuel's work. Is almost as if people think this is a new phenomenon. It's just that this has been digitalized on YouTube, on all these different platforms, Instagram, Facebook, but it's always existed. Black Americans have always had a good society of people who keep to themselves, who network, who make sure their children marry into wealthy families. And Black Americans tended to look down on them because they acted white. But now success is associated with whiteness. But if it's no longer being associated with whiteness, then what do you want to uphold? Why do black women in America think that pursuing a high value man doesn't require them to present themselves a certain way? You want a man who earns more, or who's a fast money person, or who is a doctor, lawyer, attorney, politician. These are very much specific people who act a certain way, and they don't require your success in order to elevate who they are. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, there's a sort of certain value system that they work under. It's not a Mega Thee Stallion, Cardi B, Migos type of relationship. And it's like there's a confliction. There's a disorientation of what's what within Black America. They don't realize what success is anymore. They used to, but it's like the young people believe that being wealthy is from fast money, entertainment, and being an athlete, and that's really who they should be looking up to. It's quite disappointing because you already have a stable pathway into making this type of success, and it comes with a lot of hard work, and it comes with making sure the next generation is as stable. Blaming all of it on white supremacy would not be conducive in your progress. Start within your family, start within your character and yourself in order to make this possible. And in this next slide, it's just to show you that they're making an adaptation of this book. I can go into it in another video just to be more preemptive on this topic. And essentially, it's a very good book. It pretty much exposes the Black American experience through a different lens that lacked, the marginalization and poverty. Is almost a group that should have flourished by now. But even within the community, Black Americans look down on these groups in which they should be inspired by. You need to pursue these groups. I'll go into this book even in more detail, hopefully by the end of the day, but very, very, very specific in understanding what a high value man means. And hopefully, people recognize this. People just have to read into or watch other Kevin Samuels videos in which he explains it, but you hear over and over again the same people repeating the same lie. They are convinced that Kevin keeps on saying high value man this, high value man that. They still don't know what that means. They really don't.
I want a guy who can, for example, like I don't want to settle down unless I know for a fact that when I give a guy a baby, I could possibly stay home for 3 years, right? So I need a guy that can provide for me for at least 3 years so I could be a stay-at-home mom to my kid. Now that's not unreasonable, that's not crazy, right? But it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, if the girls want that, why are you turning down dudes in a service? Why are you turning down guys?
Again, yes, People need to acknowledge that if you want a provider, it doesn't have to necessarily be a high value man. It could be a tradesman who earns a good living, but you need to respect the position he places in the family. And if you're someone who's a successful woman, you need to readjust to your lifestyle. But if you feel like, oh, you're a graduate, you work in a professional field, you're surrounded by these men and you don't know what they want. You're surrounded by high value men and you don't know what they're looking for. You need to start reevaluating your priorities, or it's too late for you. And I've told it to even my young sisters, is that if you are looking for someone on your level, if you're pursuing a STEM course, then you associate with STEM boys, men, the ones who are doing well, the ones who want to pursue higher, not the guy who's giving you all the attention in a different on humanities degree. Because you're going to be competing with the guys you actually want to be with. Acknowledge these terms properly and clearly. There's a confusion in this community, and I don't think it's widespread, because even when these non-black callers from America call up, they understand very clearly what a high value man is, especially when he describes it. So you need to come with it. You really do. I might have to revisit this again just for more clarity, but that's all I have for now. Thank you for listening. It's the Duke coming back again with another commentary.